Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 159 of the Falcoholic Live. Tonight, we will be recapping the Falcons' Week 3 victory over the New York Giants. It was ugly as hell, but it was a win, and that's all that matters in the NFL these days. Also, we will have joining us in just a little bit former Falcons offensive lineman Keenan Forney, friend of the show, to help us talk about the development of the young offensive line and some of the things he's seen from those guys. Before we get to that, let me welcome in my co-host this evening. First of all, you can see him, the man, the myth, the ESPN legend, Eric Robinson, at _Eric_Robinson. Still sporting his attire fresh off the studio. Eric, how are you doing tonight? You knew this would happen.
I'm just Eric, man.
Eric. Okay. Yeah. He's not big timing us yet. Yeah, but someday perhaps.
I haven't big timed anybody.
It's the bit, Eric. Stop fighting the bit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Welcome though. Seriously. And then we also have with us Adnan Ikic. He's at Say Which Way. Adnan, how are you tonight?
I didn't get a good enough introduction as Eric, but not all of us work at ESPN.
That's true. Yeah. It's contractually obligated. I have to dedicate at least 10 seconds to that one. So
just for reading off the title, at ESPN, ever since Eric went over there, everything's been in contracts. Every the amount of words, the amount of time we dedicate to stuff, it's been a lot more structured.
Yeah, I agree. Also with us tonight, he's doing good though. Yeah, Alden's good. Yeah. Also with us tonight, we have Evan Birchfield, Director of Gedge Personnel. Evan, how are you this evening?
I am good.
Good. Yeah, short and sweet.
Thank you, Evan.
Short and sweet. He's helping us stay on schedule.
Wait, maybe I should screw it up. It's like we've been having all these guests, and some people are probably like, "Where's the guest right now?" Well, we have Eric from ESPN.
Yes, exactly. That's the true guest, right?
Damn it!
Yeah,
what more do you need?
Yeah, it was harder to get Eric last week than it was Matt Bryant, to be honest.
All right, guys.
Man.
Yeah,
God
I know.
it.
I know. We're gonna run this. We're gonna literally run this bit into the ground. But thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Vlad, Don, Tyler, TC, Kevin, Wood, all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks to all of our patrons. And a quick note on that, guys, for our patrons and anyone else who wants to take part. Our next Q&A session will be on Friday. We moved it from Monday due to some scheduling stuff, but it will be this Friday, so just a couple days from now at 6 p.m. So if you're interested in taking part in that, you can sign up at our Patreon page, patreon.com/FalcoholicLive. Or if you're already a patron but you can't make it, feel free to send us your your questions. They can be Falcons related or otherwise on Patreon or via Twitter or whatever ways you guys normally contact us. So thanks, guys. All right, so I know that several of us already had a lot of time to talk about this game. Evan, of course, got to talk about the game on the Falcoholic podcast post-game pod, which is another quality program if you guys haven't checked that out.
Check that out if you haven't seen it.
Yes, so just in case one post-game show isn't enough, we have two here, folks. So we've got this show, which, please still watch that. But the pod, posts a little bit later. So, later that evening, perhaps early on Monday, another taste of post-game action. Especially if after a win, I find myself looking for coverage, but, after a loss, maybe not so much, but, whatever. TC says patrons should get autographs from Eric as one of the benefits. I agree. Let's set that up.
They'll get autographed headshots.
Yes. All right. I do think we have joining us now. We have Keenan. So hold on one second, guys.
I ain't been on camera, man.
Hey, Keenan, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Good,
hey,
good.
Keenan,
Yo.
Hey, what's up? The whole crew is in.
Yeah, man.
Crew.
Yeah, so he is Keenan Forney, guys, at KForney65 on Twitter. He is F65 Performance on Instagram as well. Welcome back to the show, Keenan. We've had a cavalcade of guests, so I feel like it's been forever since we've had you on, but welcome back, and we're happy to have you here.
Glad to be back, man. What's up with y'all? Hey, we not the not the worst of the worst, right?
Exactly. Look, we're tied with the Chiefs. Okay, that's all that matters.
We are tied with the Chiefs.
Hey,
that was insane.
On to the next one.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. Well, hey, all wins and losses in the NFL are exactly the same in the standings. So as far as I'm concerned, we're flying right now. At least flying more than 0-3 would have been, that's for sure.
Hey, every single road win in the NFL is a quality win. I'm sure Keenan will be the first one to tell you how hard it is to win on the road in this league.
Oh yeah, especially up in New York, man. You see how packed that game was?
Yeah.
My wife was watching the game and she was like, "Wow, I can't believe there's so many people there." I said, "Man, the New York Giants, it's never not packed."
Yeah, it's the Falcons for their opening home game had like half Eagles fans in the stands.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it did. It did sound like the Eagles home game. But that fan base travels anyway, so
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, man. But yeah, we are here to break down this week 3 victory, and we're going to get Keenan's insight on the young offensive line and how those guys have been doing over the first 3 games. But yeah, let's open the floor here. I know I talked about it to death on Sunday. I think several of us did. But Evan, we haven't heard your thoughts on that game. Were you encouraged by the performance? I don't think anyone would, describe it as a pretty game, but it was a win. So how are you feeling now with some time to process that one?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a win. It wasn't pretty by any means. I mean, it was close right down to the, Younghoe Koo field goal. If they would have blew out the Jets, I think I would feel a little more excited. I mean, not the Jets, the Giants.
They will blow out the Jets next week. Evan.
Yes,
I like where you're going with this.
They better.
Yes.
They
Yes.
better.
Yeah, hopefully they sweep New York. Well, I guess they're not playing the Bills, but
We do play the Bills later.
They do play the Bills.
We're not beating
we're not
the Bills.
sweeping
Probably not
anyway.
beating
We're
the
not
Bills, though.
sweeping anyone this year.
But
Did
no,
you see what they did to Washington?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait till you see what we're gonna do to Washington.
I like the segue to that.
We'll see. Yeah. Positivity. Good. I like it. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we didn't have AJ Terrell in, so it was interesting seeing like TJ Green as a starter. And there for a while, they were obviously targeting his side, whoever the receiver was on him. I think it was Colin Johnson once Shepard and who else was it that left? Did Galladay leave the game too? I thought it was Shepard and somebody else.
He was in and out. I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah,
Galladay
was the
Shepard
one
and
that actually
Slayton.
stayed.
It
Yeah,
was
Shepard and
Slayton.
Slayton. Yeah. So.
Shepard and Slayton left the game. But they were. I think Colin Johnson ended up having the most targets just because they kept going his way.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it was the Giants. It's a win. I think what's most important about it is a lot of the players on this team are new, including the regime. So it's more of a confidence booster. They were posting videos of them like dancing in the locker room.
Oh no.
I mean, I don't know if I would go to that extreme level.
Right.
But it is good for them to win a game and maybe build a little confidence going into what could be a tough matchup with Washington. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like ready to say they're playoff bound or anything, but they definitely needed to get a win. If they would have started 0-3, it would have got ugly quick, ugly
More
than
ugly.
it already
Yeah.
was.
It was
so.
pretty dark in here after the first 2 losses. So
Right. And I mean, like the next 2 games are definitely winnable. So all of a sudden, if they're 3-2 after these next 2 days going into the bye week, that I'm also not saying playoff bound, but it's at least showing this team is competent enough to beat teams they should.
And looking forward to it after the bye week. You're talking about Miami's coming to town. They're not really, that strong this season. We don't know if Tua is going to be in or out. After Miami, it's the Panthers. We don't know Christian McCaffrey's status. Yeah. I'm not saying that we're going to win all these games, but I will say that nobody's holding me back.
I mean,
from my hype if we do.
Exactly. No, I mean, I think Adnan said if we make it to the bye at 3-2, then his hype will know no bounds. We're playoff bound, baby.
No, I'll be looking at a bye week. I'll be hyping that up.
Exactly.
First round bye.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys: does it change if they win these next 2 games, which are definitely like winnable? Does it change kind of how the first 2 games are, in your opinion, like for the regime? Because I know a lot of people were and Kevin, not to single you out, but I remember you being one of them that was kind of like iffy on the offensive play calling and stuff. Like when obviously we don't know how the offense is going to be called in the next 2 games, but if they win, do you feel a little better about like Arthur Smith?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends like how the wins look, right? Because I feel like this Giants win, like the defense definitely did step up. I think the defense has really been doing their best to try to keep games close, like as much as we could expect from them. So I think the defense is playing well. The offense like really just barely did enough to get the win here. We didn't really see a lot of growth from a play calling perspective. We did see, I think, a much better game overall from the offensive line, and I know we'll let Keenan, talk about that too. But it's it really just depends. Like, I just want to see growth every week. Like, if they can keep growing little by little, and to be fair, I think that's what they've done. The offense obviously didn't look as good this week as it did last against the Buccaneers, where they had 25 points and we're starting to move the ball. It's looking like maybe the Buccaneers defense, particularly the secondary, is not quite as daunting as it once was. But it just depends. Like, if the team continues looking a little bit better every week and we go into the bye with some like better offensive performances under our belt, then I'll feel a lot better about where we are. But if we're just sort of scraping by, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do think if the team does start winning these games, it'll be a lot easier to buy into the excuse that week one in the NFL is always super, super weird, especially this season when there was a one fewer preseason game. Because, remember that week one in 2016. I'm not saying this team will be on the levels of 2016, but they lost to the Bucs, in 2016, a game that nobody, thought that they would lose. Look at what the Packers did against the Saints in week one. They just got absolutely plastered. So, week one, I think the Bills also really struggled in week one. Week one is always really, really weird in the NFL. And if the team is looking really good, we can look back on that and be like, yeah, it was just unlucky. It was just
and just to piggyback off what you were talking about, there was no preseason, and you look at how many people, especially on the offensive side of the ball, are new to this team, and you also remember that Julio Jones is no longer on this team. Like, Cordarrelle Patterson has been flashing every week. Mayfield, if you follow PFF, has been getting better each week at left guard. So,
and I think that's a really good segue just into asking Keenan about his opinions. I'm curious, Keenan, about this offensive line. I know that you watch the offensive line intently, a lot more intently than others, during these games. Just based on what you've seen and based on what regarding continuity, regarding young players stepping up in the middle of the season, how comfortable are you with this offensive line for the rest of the season for the Atlanta Falcons, that they'll keep improving and that they'll get to a point where they're a strength of the team?
I think the more that they play, then either the better or the worse they'll get. You know what I mean? Because the only thing that makes you better is going out there playing. And just like Evan said a little while ago, they didn't have any preseason games, So those first couple games, we all kind of saw what happened. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes you have four guys doing the right thing, one guy doing something bad, But then I guess I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I would see some really nice stuff even on the bad plays. I'm just like, well, dang, if we just cut off the backside right here, or if we just, don't get pushed up the middle, on this pass play. It's just they just need to be a little bit more consistent out there. And I think the more that they play together, then, they'll start getting a little bit more comfortable, especially Jalen Mayfield. Everybody's got to remember, this is his first time playing guard.
Yeah. and on the left side too. It's completely different.
On the left side.
And he didn't get that many snaps in preseason right there.
And he got some snaps maybe 2 weeks before the season kicked off.
Yeah. And he's only 20.
So, he's got a lot of stuff going on, man. It's not as easy as a move going from right tackle to left guard, because, you play tackle, you play a little bit more in space. You play a guard, that action happens a lot earlier. And the guys that you're playing against, they a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger than what you might see on the outside, So he got baptized pretty good the first game, London Fletcher. I'm not London Fletcher. Dang,
Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher Cox, yeah. Fletcher Cox. And the other guy, what was it, Hargraves or Hargraves?
Yeah, Javon Hargrave. Yeah, he had a great game.
they had an awesome game against them, and the only way you get better is by going out there and playing against guys like those, and it's kind of sink or swim, taking a baby and throwing them in the deep end. Hey, you gonna make it or not,
What was funny?
What was that movie 300 where they sent you out to go kill a wolf? You gonna come back or not?
What was funny about all that was normally, you know what I'm saying, you have your welcome to the NFL moment, on the field in most cases. I think he had his a couple of days before the game, where his head coach came out and said, "You're going to get baptized. Like you don't have a hard time."
He just said it to the media. It's like, "Oh
that was definitely your welcome to the NFL moment at that point." So I mean,
that kind of lets you know coach was seeing some stuff in practice, like, "Ooh, yeah, we're gonna have to deal with some stuff," but we're gonna grow with it.
There is a reason they were hidden away in training camp. Like they put the offensive line all the way to like the far end, so that
no one could see the drills. At all.
Well, the original left guard got hurt or something.
Yeah,
right?
Josh Andrews. He's on IR.
Yeah, he got hurt, and so Mayfield just got thrown into a hell of a situation. But hey, man, go on out there and ball out.
Yeah. I mean, it's been cool to see. I mean, honestly, like. From week one, where he was, I think, the worst, and PFF grades take it with a grain of salt, obviously, but, the worst graded guard in the league in week one to still not great in week two, and then a top 10 performance among guards in week 3. I mean, that's a big jump for him. And, it's you don't see that patience a lot of times with NFL coaches these days, that they're willing to let a young guy sort of take his lumps like that and play to that level. But the Falcons didn't have a lot of choices, obviously. It's not like they could just put someone else in. So
he's definitely got a nice little test this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will say, we are in a bit of a Madden generation where, you move a player from right tackle to left guard and his rating drops like 1 point or 2 points and you can still plug him in. That's not the way it goes in real life. Like, it's really, really hard to change positions like that. Even though he has some experience, playing it in college, it's really hard to go from playing right tackle week in and week out to now going to the NFL and completely switching your positions. Because, I'm sure Keenan can speak more about it, but the difference between playing left guard and right tackle, like that's like almost complete opposites on the offensive line. It takes a lot of time and adjustment to make that transition successfully.
And just to get Keenan's thoughts too, for Mayfield, he was also playing next to someone who had slightly more experience than him in Hennessy. I think that first week was Hennessy's third start or fourth start at center. Like how important is it in your opinion, Keenan? Obviously you had like Todd McClure, one of the probably the best center in Falcons history, either that or Jeff Van Note. How important was it to have somebody like that, as opposed to like if you had somebody who was in their third start ever right next to you?
It means a lot because their strengths, their weaknesses, and they know yours. So on certain blocks, you might have to give a little bit more or take away a little bit more. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say you're talking about a run combination, and, me and McClure, sometimes we wouldn't even make a call. We automatically know what it is, and we look at each other and look at our point and kind of get a nod. And, the guy up front, he's trying to pick up on anything that he can. He don't know what we're doing, but we're, we got that eye contact going on, kind of like how Marino had it with, who was at Clayton when he threw that thing on Monday night, kind of looked at him like he was going down at it. Hey,
that was Ingram.
There it is.
That was Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram. My bad. I said the wrong receiver. But offensive linemen have that too. Hennessy, he's still trying to get his feet wet. He's still trying to, get all the information that he can take as far as playing center, but also too trying to take his growing pains and get better with them as well. So, the Falcons, they just, they got to grow with them. They just got to let them keep playing. And, I think these past few games, man, they've had some dogs. This past game.
Oh, yeah.
This past game, Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Dexter Lawrence in person. He is
he's a beast. Yeah.
And
Leonard Williams,
Danny Shelton,
and Leonard Williams
too.
Yeah.
Leonard Williams,
and in the game before that, Vita Vea and
Ndamukong Suh.
He getting his money's worth right now. So I mean, to me, going against the best competition out there, that makes you have to be on your P's and Q's every week. You have to be about your details. So, hopefully, going against this better competition, it'll mature them. Because that's what ends up happening. You learn to hey, I can't go to sleep at 12 o'clock. I'm gonna start going to sleep at about 9. I'm gonna watch me some tape in the morning at night, just to make sure I'm on top of my stuff.
We pointed that out as soon as he was named, starter. Like, hey man, just looking at the interior defensive lines that he's going to be going up against. I mean, the first 5 games, he's probably going up at worst against a fringe Pro Bowler every week at worst. I mean, you're talking from Fletcher to this week. You got Daron Payne and John Allen. Those boys, they bring their hard hats, man. Those are not slouches among interior defensive linemen. And we still get that from the casual fan, believing that it's easy to transition on the offensive line like that.
It's not Madden. It's not Madden.
It's not. Yeah. No, you got to keep in mind he transitioned from facing 260, 270 pound athletic defensive ends to now 320 pound defensive tackles that can probably move just as fast as those 260 pound defensive ends. Like it's like night and day, man. And again, the kid he's taking some lumps, but I saw some improvement over the past couple of weeks, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a new wave of defensive linemen in the NFL. It's not like, way back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, where it's just like those big fat dudes, trying to take up space in the middle. Like, these guys have to be agile. These guys, they have to be able to move a little bit. The NFL is evolving every single year and within every single position. We see it with the quarterbacks. We see it like, it's a passing league, but, on the inside too, you have to be a bit more versatile nowadays. You have to be able to move a little bit.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You saw it with the Giants. Dexter's listed as a nose, but he played a lot of 5-tech this past week. And that's the belly of the beast that you have to deal with the NFL now. You have 330-pound guys that can play 5-tech and slide down and play 0-tech on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And rush the passer. Like that's a lot, man.
Yeah, the athletes are so good on the defensive line. And the Falcons, like, honestly, are playing, I would say, 4 of the most talented like defensive lines, defensive interiors in the league over these first 4 games. I mean, it's truly a murderer's row, to coin a phrase, of opponents that they have to go against. So it was never going to be easy for Mayfield. But I think the fact that he took his lumps, he had a really tough start, and managed to not only come back the next week against an even, harder, just as hard opponent in the Bucs, got a little bit better, still not great. Didn't let that phase him. Came back the next week against the Giants, against another tough opponent, and looked much better, especially in pass pro. And I think that really speaks to, why I think Coach Arthur Smith kept him in there. It's because, look, he saw who Jalen Mayfield was. He knew Mayfield could handle it mentally. It wasn't going to break him down. Struggling early, and he's I think basically shown the team exactly what they hoped for, that he didn't shrink away from the moment, he didn't sort of collapse, he kept at it, kept improving, and now it's looking like, oh, we may have a starting left guard for the future, sooner than we thought, because we were willing to put him in there early. Just how big is that mental toughness for someone like Jalen Mayfield, Keenan?
That mental toughness, it's what allows you to come out there and battle every Sunday. It's what allows you to come out and battle play after play, even though that you're physically outmatched by the guy in front of you. Like in Mayfield's case, what is he, 20 years old? So when he goes against somebody, they might be 7 years ahead of him, 7, 8 years ahead of them in their prime. He's got a lot to overcome as far as, I guess the physicalness that guy might bring, but just going out and taking your lumps, learning from them, growing and maturing as a player, it's great for him. And also too, I think, like you just said, Kevin, we mess around and have us a starting left guard that can also play right tackle in a jam. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to worry about, hey, well, you think he can still play tackle? Yeah, he can still play tackle. Yes, but he's learning this guard, and it's good for him. And Hennessy, is getting his reps in at center. So, nothing makes you better but playing. I don't know, Todd McClure didn't come in as one of the best centers in Falcons history. He had to grow. He had his growing pains too, so we just got to let them kids grow and let them play.
I'm pretty sure you had a ton of wars going up against guys like Warren Sapp and Brenson Buckner from the Panthers, and you had to. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy for you either coming out.
Nope.
Never. It wasn't easy. Every Sunday it was always something. I don't think there was ever a time, like playing inside that I didn't have somebody that I had to deal with that was going to be, it was going to be a wrestling match all day, and especially with the guys you just named, Warren Sapp, Brenson Buckner,
Booger McFarland.
Who?
Booger
McFarland, yeah, definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
The Marcus Strauss of Jacksonville's.
Oh,
can't even forget Chris Jenkins with Carolina teamed up with Brenson Buckner. You're talking about some big mobile men, powerful, strong. Yeah. Those are the type of defensive tackles that our boy is seeing right now. And he's got to get used to setting them and being firm with them a little bit more because, a tackle, you're kind of allowed to let them and ride them by the pocket, so to speak. When you play center and guard, you like you're the guard of the night of the watchtower. Is that what that is called on Game of Thrones? The watchtower. Somebody help me out here. But yeah, that's what you are. You're the front wall. You're the front line of defense.
Oh my God.
And just adding to that mental toughness, you have to have a different kind of mental toughness just to play on the offensive line, period, or the defensive line, because that's contact every single play. Yeah. Like every single snap, you're colliding into a dude. Sometimes a wide receiver, like I don't want to say can take a play off, but he's not going to get the ball. He's not, he'll run his route. He's not going to have any contact. But on the O line, it's just collision, play in and play out. You're never not going into somebody.
Oh, yeah. Monday and Tuesday, man, you feel like you've been in a car wreck. Your neck is sore, your back is sore, knees, everything, man. But, I couldn't think of anything better to do, man.
It's a unique experience, and it's tough.
That's the mental toughness right there. The fact that he loved it. That's the toughness you need.
Yeah.
You gotta
it takes
love
a
what
certain
you do.
mentality. It really does. To be willing to go to war. And deal with that sort of stress on your body. And, we talked about stress on your mind too. And it's a tough position because, some days you're the one beating up on somebody and some days you're the one getting beat up on, but you still got to go out there every snap. If you just give up a sack, you got to pick your quarterback up, dust him off, say, sorry, I'll buy you dinner next week or whatever, and then you got to keep going. You can't crumble. And, for as much as someone like Jalen Mayfield, and it wasn't just him, we're singling him out, but I mean, a lot of the offensive line had struggles early, but as much as those guys struggled in week one, in week 2, week 3, they came back, they got a little bit better. And now we're going into week 4 with, an offensive line that looks like it's maybe not as big of a liability as we thought based on one game. And, I just think it's a great idea to we're talking about, you mentioned, the veteran that they had that was the presumptive starter at left guard, Josh Andrews. It sounds like he's going to be coming back at some point. I can't speak for everyone here, but I think we're all pretty much in favor of just sort of letting Mayfield, keep taking the reps. I don't think you pull him at this point. I mean, would you agree with that, Keenan, that you got to just let the rookie play now that he's kind of come in and shown that he can do the job?
Yeah. Most definitely. I mean, unless he just regresses so bad, we have to, you know what I mean? But, the past few games, he's been getting better and better. Mm-hmm. I say keep letting him play. Keep letting him figure it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially you looked really solid against New York. You don't want to send that message of benching him now because it's like you mentioned, Kevin, he did give up a sack against New York. He gave up a QB hit. But then that's it. Outside of that, it was just a fantastic game overall. And I mean, I'm definitely now really looking forward to seeing him compete with those big boys in the middle of Washington's defensive line, those former first-round picks, the Alabama guys. I can't wait to see, if that improvement will continue, if it's consistent. And if he looks good in that game, then just the sky's the limit at that point.
I will say this. I know the record looks one way. I know they haven't really been generating a whole lot of sacks. But this Washington, to me, in my opinion, coming into the season, this Washington front seven was the best front seven in the NFL.
Yeah, on paper, I totally agree.
I still think they're talented enough to where they can pick one game and they can turn on the light switch and you get a dominant unit. And I'm hoping this isn't that game. I'm just saying that this is. I don't want fans to look at the record and look at what's been going on and for them to say, okay, this is a lighter test for Mayfield.
It's not. No, definitely not. Yeah. And we're definitely going to talk more about that Washington game later in the show. We're going to do a full preview of that as well for you guys. But yeah, I mean, suffice to say, they've been disappointing, that defense, to start the year, like surprisingly so, because I think, if you look at their 2020 tape and their 2020 stats, that was one of the NFL's best defenses. And this year they are decidedly not that. So we'll get to that more as well. I know we dedicate a lot of time to the offense in terms of the offensive line looking better. I think the run game is still something that we're struggling with a bit. I think Mike Davis did have a pretty good game on the ground. He averaged over 4 yards a carry, was generally efficient with his touches. Patterson less so with his carries, but as a receiver, obviously did a really good job. And Kyle Pitts, not very many targets in this one. I think it is good to put it in context. I think Torrey McElhaney, now formerly of The Athletic, now for working with the team, with their media, pointed out that Pitts only has 4 fewer targets than Julio had through his first 3 games. So it's not like Pitts hasn't been targeted at all, but I know a lot of fans were hoping to see more from Pitts. Keenan, what are your thoughts on how the offense has run so far? Were you expecting Pitts to be more involved? Were you expecting better numbers in general? Were you expecting more run game? What are your kind of thoughts so far after 3 games of kind of looking at this offense?
I thought that Pitts would be involved in the offense a little bit more. He had 2 catches this past game, and the game
he had a bunch in week 2, but other than that, very quiet.
Yeah, he had them in the first half, and in the second half,
yeah, exactly.
So I thought that they get him involved a little bit more, but maybe they're working on that. So we'll see.
Hope so. Yeah.
I mean, we drafted him 4th overall to get 2 catches.
Yeah, they were very crucial catches, at least. I mean, they were both first downs. So.
He had an important 4th quarter. He drew the pass interference penalty, big first down catch to set up field goal range, but he had 0 targets through 3 quarters in that game.
Yeah.
I don't think that can happen. That's not allowed to happen.
Yeah. But I'm not one that's going to sit here and say that they're not getting him involved. I think it really is a situation where defenses are playing him a lot better than we think they are. I mean, it's kind of hard to see it from the broadcast view. But throw on the all 22 and you'll see it if you're able to. You'll see that, he was bracketed a few times by the Giants early on. Defenses are really trying to eliminate him from the equation. So yes, I do think he deserves to see a few more targets, but I do think we're seeing defenses kind of try to eliminate him from the equation. And that's why he's not getting the looks that we want him to get.
Yeah.
Besides, I also feel that if he gets 15, 20 targets a game like some fans want, this offense is not going anywhere.
I don't think that's the solution either.
This is not that. Yeah. I don't want that. I know we love him, but
that's too far in the other direction. Yeah. And
absolutely,
you're absolutely right. I think we were all expecting this offense to be better and less conservative than it is. And, we can talk about it more. I mean, I still feel like this is not a fully installed offense. It seems like a very limited offense, and that is definitely something to criticize the coaching staff for, but he is a first-time head coach, and it's.
I'm more concerned about the run game,
than
I am about how many receptions Kyle Pitts has right now. Because honestly, that will come. He's just that type of talent. That will come. I'm more concerned about why the run game is not producing the way it should in a scheme like this. That's my worry, and I don't think this is going to be the week where that run game gets off the ground either. So,
right. I mean, that's you mentioned the run game. The Giants were allowing 5 yards a carry going into this game, and the Falcons. I think Mike Davis had some decent success, but there weren't a lot of attempts. I think Mike Davis averaged over over like 4-point-something yards per carry. So he had a decent day, but I mean, again, yes, like, you know, what the Giants were one of the worst defenses against the run going into this game, and the Falcons really didn't get a lot going there. And I think part of that is, you know, I do want to open up to you guys as well. Part of that, I think, is that the offense is so limited. They're not threatening deep at all. Like they're barely even, you know, threatening intermediate at this point. I think they've had one passing attempt longer than 20 yards and no completion. So
they're approaching this game. Defenses are approaching this game wanting them to beat them with the limited pass plays. You're not going to beat them deep. They're playing a lot of cover 2 shell. They're playing a lot of over top. You're not going to beat them deep. So they're forcing the Falcons to, like I said, play that line of scrimmage, the intermediate areas. So they have an opportunity to get the run game off the ground, but the Falcons just don't necessarily do it. They kind of just say, all right, we're going to take what they give us, and we're going to have volume passes between 0 to 10 yards. And again, I think you're playing yourself out of the hand at that point as an offense.
Yeah, if you look at the comparison between Calvin Ridley through 4 games last year and this year, it's insane just how many fewer deep targets he's been gaining. Not even like looking at the pure stats or reception, like Calvin Ridley was glistening in the first 4 games last year, but just the amount of targets, and that does play into a little bit the first couple games. The offensive line wasn't blocking well enough for Matt Ryan for those complex routes to develop. But I also feel like, you know, even looking back in Tennessee, like Arthur Smith's philosophy, the Titans weren't really like, you know, slinging that rock deep downfield. And part of that, you know, maybe with Ryan Tannehill isn't as good of a passer deep as some of the others in the NFL. He doesn't have as big of an arm. But, you know, I think that this is also a schematical thing with the Falcons that, you know, we probably just won't see as many deep shots with Arthur Smith as we've grown accustomed to in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is definitely, like in Tennessee, they made it work. They didn't throw the ball deep a lot, but when they did, they hit it. They hit it almost every time. And that's why Tannehill's yards per attempt was so high, is because they did succeed at doing it.
It also helps when you play action to Derrick Henry and everyone's just completely like terrified of Henry, that, you know, that they kind of leave the top a bit more open.
Yeah. So that's absolutely true.
Maybe we should trade for Derrick Henry.
We'll see why not.
One thing I just wanted to mention was Kevin, you mentioned how, you know, he's got similar struggles that Kyle Pitts, I'm talking about, similar struggles to what Julio did early in his career, that first year. I think it was 2011. That team had, correct me if I'm wrong, Pro Bowl Tony Gonzalez and Pro Bowl Roddy White on it. Yep. So there was a lot more receiving options in a game where, I mean, I expected to see Kyle Pitts more in this game just because of necessity. Yeah. If we're honest with ourselves, the receiving depth isn't good. Mm-hmm. And Lee Smith is being your number 1 tight end. Like I get matching up players, but the Giants secondary isn't dominant. I expected more like focus on Kyle Pitts. Calvin Ridley really doesn't feel like he's been unleashed, as Adnan was talking about his stats compared to last year. So I don't really get that. You know, I mean, comparing him to like Julio Jones' first year doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, just because of the level of talent on that 2011 team compared to what we currently have, which is Calvin Ridley. Russell Gage wasn't even in that game. Yeah. Lamadi Zaccheaus. I don't know. I don't really get that.
And it's like Zaccheaus is fine as like a wide receiver 3, but yeah, I mean, they really don't. Gage hasn't been all that effective when he's been in there, so it's like outside of Ridley, they just
Tajay Sharp. But
yeah,
I mean,
Sharp is, you know, like a rotational guy. Right. You know, they need an infusion of talent there, and you know, yeah, I mean, Kieran Welsh. I know other people were talking about it too. You know, John Brown. Like I think we're all sort of waiting on that signing to happen. I mean, I think they could just use another threat on the outside to take attention away, but it's not going to work if the Falcons can't hit anything deep, and at this point, they haven't really shown that they're willing to do that. I'm hoping that that's partially the offense, you know, like I said earlier, not being fully installed, and you know they're still working on getting this offense to where it needs to be and getting these routes down and stuff like that. But
that's why I said it on the post game with DW. Going into the season, I think a lot of people expected, probably incorrectly, but expected, Kyle Pitts to kind of be a focus of Arthur Smith's offense. And it really seems like, based on how plays are drawn up and the target share, that Cordarrelle Patterson is kind of the focus, at least early on.
It's very bizarre, right?
Probably not a lot of people expected. Like, I thought he would be like an X factor that they could play around with and stuff. But I mean, how many, on that final drive to help get him in a field goal range? It's like Patterson was a big focus there.
Yeah, and that's his big surprise, and it's a positive one, right? I mean, they paid Patterson a lot of money. I think we all just assumed it was to be a spark on special teams, and I think that's something that I think he'll get a return touchdown this year. He's gotten one each of the last 3 years, so it's going to happen at some point. But I think Patterson has been better as a running back and like an offensive weapon than anyone could have sort of hoped. I mean, he's been their leading receiver thus far, so that's been a surprise. But he's been extremely dangerous as a matchup player, like out of the backfield, just toasting linebackers. And if a safety happens to get on him, he just trucks these guys half the time. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I think we talked about it on the postgame. It's like, how did it take so long for an offense to figure out how to use a 6'3", 230-pound weapon effectively? But it's taken this long, apparently, for people to figure that out.
I think the issue in the past was they would try and use him more as like a trickster, where it's like, oh, let's do an end around with him or something, where like we're seeing him just kind of run straight up the middle, like just normal running back plays. And I mean, it didn't really work so much against the Giants. He did better receiving wise, but I mean, overall, I've liked how he's, ran the ball. He's looked literally like a pure running back. So
yeah. And I mean, as a backfield weapon, just somebody kind of leaking out on these routes. I mean, he's clearly got good hands, from someone who's been a returner his entire career. The hands are there. But it's just his open field ability has always been his sort of ace in the hole, his special attribute. And I mean, to his credit, he's shown just how good he is with that. I mean, he's been dominant as someone that gets, once he gets in the open field, I mean, he makes people miss. He trucks guys. I mean, he's the whole package. And it's funny, lined up in the backfield, he does look a little bit like Derrick Henry. It's kind of crazy. I mean, obviously not as physical, not as seasoned as a running back in terms of his cuts and everything like that. But in terms of size, he's the closest thing the Falcons have on the roster. So it's pretty funny. I do want to get, before we move on to Washington, I do want to give the defense some props, because the Giants offense was not bad going into this game. They had scored, in the 20s multiple times. They probably should have beaten Washington the previous week.
Yeah. They should have beaten Washington if Dexter Lawrence doesn't jump offside.
Exactly.
Like, Washington should be 0-3 going into this game. Yeah,
exactly. So like that team isn't as bad as people thought. I think they're poorly coached. And I think that's kind of what happens to poorly coached teams. And not that the Falcons are looking that much better at this time. Hopefully we'll see a lot of improvement over the course of the season. But I thought the defense did pretty much everything we could ask of them. So, yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything to say about the defense's performance without maybe, their second best player in A.J. Terrell not even out there? So what do you guys think about the defense in this game?
I think it was a team that still showed at certain times that they need an influx of talent. And that's been something that I've been sticking to going into the season. Like it's going to be a well-coached unit because of Dean Pease and his scheme, and his football wisdom is you're seeing it a little bit on game days now. But there's some definite improvements that I want to see made this offseason that needs to happen in order for this team to really see its true potential. But going forward, I'll take what we get right now. I'll be honest with you. Like what we're getting right now, we're getting a hard coached defensive unit that is not going to be the most talented unit on the field in most games, but they're getting critical stops, and they're getting critical stops in critical times. Yeah, which is always key. I want to see this defense take the ball away a little bit more, man.
Yeah, that's the one thing they haven't been great at.
That's the one thing. Yeah. That's I mean, I can tolerate, giving up a few yards, maybe giving up a score or two. But I want to see this unit when it's the fourth quarter and they need a key turnover. Man, I would love to see an interception late in the game or a forced fumble. They almost had one with Dante Fowler.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing I want to see from this defense at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, they didn't recover it, but Dante Fowler did have that key play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that strip sack, sure, the Falcons didn't get the ball immediately, but it turned it into a 3rd and 20, and he got held on the play and everything, and that pretty much got Atlanta the ball back because Washington gave up on the drive, threw a screen pass, and just saw what they could get. But yeah, the defense, like, I couldn't be happier overall. Sure, there were some plays where the Giants were moving it up and down the field, but they got into the red zone a couple times in the first half. The defense didn't break. Gave up a couple field goals. Sure, they gave up the fourth quarter touchdown that resulted from that pass interference penalty in the end zone, where Washington got the 2-point conversion, but the Giants got the 2-point conversion. But to hold an NFL team to 14 points in their own home stadium, like that's big time. It was a big time performance from the defense. Without AJ Terrell, Isaiah Oliver played very, very well. He had that, wonderful forced fumble and fumble recovery at the end of the first half, which the Falcons couldn't take advantage of because they got sacked, didn't get a field goal out of it. But yeah, Dante Fowler, key play in the game. He's had a couple of really good games, and I'm really hoping that this is the start of an explosion for him because he has $4 million on the line.
Gotta get that money.
Yeah, and Keenan, let us know just how motivating some of those incentives are, when they're in the contract.
Are you trying to get that money?
Oh yeah, I mean $4 million is a lot of money.
$4 million, yeah. It's like I was making the joke if I needed 10, 11 sacks to get $4 million, I'd be in the gym every single day. Just it doesn't matter what I'm every single day. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean I think it's smart. I think it's smart to have those in the contracts as opposed to just giving them the money up front like Vic Beasley. But well, we won't linger on that one. But yeah, I mean, considering the Falcons defense last year, which for the record finished as the 32nd ranked passing defense in the league, even after Raheem Morris took over and sort of salvaged some of the numbers.
The defense last year is giving up 28 points in that game minimum.
Yeah. So if you take away the 2 pick sixes, the Falcons have given up 80 points over 2 games. That would tie them for 22nd in scoring. As it is now, they're 30th, but then take away 7 more because the Bucs got the ball at like the 8 from another one of those picks. If you take away 7 more, then the Falcons are tied for 15th or 16th with 73 points. So I think they're probably around 20th if we're being honest with ourselves.
This Washington defense also gave up 29 at home last week to the Giants. So, this is. I mean, if you're looking for silver linings, like there's one right there. Like this defense was able. They've done it in every single game. If we be honest, like you look at the second halves of every single game. The offense. The table was set for the offense to put some points on the board.
Oh yeah, they should have. I think we were all really disappointed.
Philly wasn't able to pull away into the fourth quarter. It was still 15-6 at the end of the
game. The defense again in that game, it was still within reach up until late in the game, and then the defense got tired.
They held the Bucs offense scoreless in the third quarter.
Yes,
so they could score 15 unanswered. So I mean, they're getting some stops. Man.
They are.
Got to give them that credit.
Mm-hmm.
Given the talent and just how much less money and resources has been invested into the defense compared to the offense, I really couldn't ask for much more from the defense than being like a pretty average unit, and that's what they've been. And I couldn't be happier with that because if the offense is coming out and playing the way we were kind of expecting them to play throughout these first 3 games, we're seeing the defense's praises even more because they'll look even better. A high tide raises all ships, and if the offense is scoring, let's say 30, 35 points, and the defense is holding teams to 24, 25, we're talking about what an amazing complete unit that is as well.
Yeah, and some other stats for the Falcons so far: 19th in total yardage, much better than last year. Passing yardage, where I mentioned they were 32nd in the league, they're 17th so far this year. Even considering they've played the Bucs, who are maybe the best passing offense in the league, if not in the top 2 or 3. Rushing yardage, they are 19th. So I mean they're playing decently. I mean, they're like a almost average defense, which I think we said was probably their ceiling. But I mean, I think I think the secret with them is like they don't have the talent to necessarily just beat up on teams and be a great defense. But I think they're well coached and they make a lot less mistakes than they did a year ago. And I think even though they're not necessarily the best unit in the league, they're doing enough that the offense should be able to overcome, instead of the offense last year having to play from behind all the time and just giving up these giant leads. Like, the offense just isn't doing anything. So right. It's like they're playing well, and it's like, yeah.
They're not going to be the reason, like they're not going to win you the game, but they're also not going to be the reason you lose the game. Like against Philly, I mean, the offense, or, I guess technically, but the offense scored 6 points? Yeah. Against the Buccaneers, it was 25-28. But there was so much bad field position in that game with the bad punting and then the 2 interceptions. That wasn't the defense's fault. And then against the Giants, I mean, they kept it within range for the Falcons offense to luckily, get them the victory towards the end. So
exactly. They made that key stop at the end that set up the field goal drive too. So big props to the defense for sure. All right, let me get to a couple of tips here. Thank you guys so much for that. Before we move on to talking about the Washington game in more detail, first of all, one came in a little bit after the show ended from Joshua Kessler with a $30 tip on Sunday. Thank you so much, Josh, man. That's really nice of you. We really appreciate that. He says, this is for enjoying this false hope with us. So thank you, Josh. Thank you for that.
I will build up the false hope, Josh. Don't worry. I just need something. Just give me this win against Washington, and then I'll take it from there.
Oh yeah. He'll have the hype train rolling. Jason, I'm gonna save yours for just a little bit later. I promise we will get to it, Jason, with a $2 tip. It's a Keenan specific question about the 2005 and 2006 seasons. So Keenan, start getting your memory going about those seasons, and we'll get to that one in just a little bit. But Brandon Brass with the $1. It's a draft take question. So we promised we wouldn't do full-on draft takes unless we lost this one, but I think we can maybe do one. So he says, all right, if we do end up picking in the top 7, would you guys rather draft quarterback Malik Willis or edge Drake Jackson at the number 7th overall pick, assuming both are there, obviously?
Oh.
I mean, I'm a huge Malik Willis fan, so I go Malik because I think he needs to sit for a year or two, probably. So yeah, I mean, I think now's the time if you're still in position to get a quarterback, without trading up or anything like that. I think you do it. But I like Drake Jackson a lot. He's very good. So it is a huge need as well. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Hey, Malik's from Georgia, right?
I believe originally.
Yeah, so. Malik's from I think he's from the South Side, if I'm not mistaken.
You could be right. Yeah. I mean, that would be a great homecoming, right? So what do you guys think? Quarterback or edge?
I'll roll with Willis because I like Drake Jackson, but I don't think I like Drake Jackson enough at 7 or inside the top 10 or top 7, whatever placement he had us at. I like Willis there at that point, and I think when the season plays out, and then we get to draft season and we get to draft workouts, you may not know him now, but Malik Willis will probably be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I think he will be by the end of the season.
By that time.
And Malik Willis, he went to Westlake High School. So
that's
yes,
right.
he is from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a great.
Was he teammates with AJ?
I don't know.
Let's see. I'll do some research about that.
Yeah, Adnan's going to do the research. He'll let us know. Yeah, he might be.
They might have had at least 1 year.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. All right, we got Corey Carter with the $5. Thank you so much, Corey, man. We appreciate that. He says, one thing I really liked from this weekend's game was that the Falcons were running some 22 personnel, which seemed appropriate considering our lack of wide receiver depth. I think the coaching staff needs to continue to construct game plans that play to our strengths. Yeah, 100% agree, Corey. I think they were pretty effective out of some of those more exotic personnel packages too. And, they had that Lee Smith touchdown, which I think was infuriating some people because it wasn't Kyle Pitts, but, it was a good play design. He was doubled. He was, and that
yeah,
exactly. But it was a good one. I totally agree with you there. I like the 12 personnel packages. I think Hayden Hurst needs to be more involved too. I think those 2 tight end sets should be the bread and butter of this team, considering the wide receiver depth, and I'd like to see more of it going forward. All right, then we got George Costanza with the $5. Now he couches this by saying, I am prone to knee-jerk reactions and overcorrecting. So, George, thank you for acknowledging that. He says, I'm worried that Arthur Blank and the Falcons' downfall is going to be not being able to get over Petrino. Let the record show that I always wanted Lincoln Riley. He is correct. He was clamoring for Lincoln Riley all offseason.
Get over what?
Getting over Petrino,
Petrino.
Bobby Petrino. Yeah. He says
because it's like Arthur Blank. I think the narrative is that Arthur Blank doesn't want to hire any college coaches because he got burned by Petrino.
I think that's what he's saying. Yeah.
I think at first was definitely
thinking about
true.
that now. Like, why are we even talking?
I hope Arthur Blank's over that by now.
I hope that that's not the case. I can't say for a fact that it's not, but yeah, I hope that that's not because Petrino, you kind of have to get over it. That was 14 years ago.
Are we already talking about? Are we already talking about who they should be looking for as head coach?
He did say it was a knee-jerk reaction, so he did, qualify it, saying that he was definitely overreacting. But he does worry that. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't sit here and say that he's fully not over it when Joe Brady became a head coaching finalist this past offseason.
Yeah, exactly. I think they were seriously considering him.
Yeah. Joe Brady is just as old as Jalen Mayfield, and he almost gave him the keys to the car.
Yeah, I think if Arthur Smith had turned them down and gone elsewhere, they would have hired Joe Brady. He would have been the head coach.
So I can't sit here and say Arthur Blank is not over that. He almost gave the keys to the car to like a 23-year-old kid who's only coaching college for 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that would have been also an interesting timeline to go down, but we'll have to see what happens here. I think it's definitely a little early, and I think the biggest problem with Arthur Smith right now is I think he really underestimated the amount of time it would take to install this offense, and they're still installing the offense.
Yeah, we talked about it.
I don't
think he fully trusts his personnel.
Yeah.
Yet. He will.
Yeah, we got a lot of games to go. 17-game season. They have been iterating a little bit every week. So if we can just get a little bit better every week, hopefully we can get through this sort of easier stretch. We'll talk about Washington here in just a second.
But he's also still trying to get a feel of everybody's strength on offense. Yeah. And to me, it takes more than 3 games to figure that out, to be honest.
It does.
And for the record, Malik Willis and AJ Terrell did attend high school at the same time. Same exact years. But Willis transferred over to Roswell, I think, in his senior year. So I think they did get at least 1 year playing together in high school.
Okay. Very cool.
Maybe
cool.
even 2.
Little trivia there for you guys, for sure. All right, let's move on to talking about the Washington football team. 1-2, as I can't remember which one of you said it, but they should probably be 0-3, considering the Giants should have won that game if not for a really dumb mistake. Just to give you guys some... The defense should be good. They're not. They're currently allowing over 30 points per game, 30.7, which for the record is only 0.5 per game less than the Falcons, and the Falcons gave up 2 pick sixes and all the aforementioned really bad field position and whatnot. In terms of yardage, Washington is currently 31st, allowing 432 yards per game. In terms of passing yardage, they're 29th. In terms of rushing yardage, they are a little bit better. They are 25th. But, this is a defense that's supposed to be great. They haven't been so far. On offense, they've been a bit better. I think they've been competitive on offense. But again, so I think they're about the 20th best offense in terms of scoring, yardage, and so on. So they haven't been great, but they've been okay. So this is another team that's struggling, kind of like the opposite of the Falcons' struggles, I would say. Like, they've been pretty good on offense, enough to maybe win games, but the defense has been way worse than they thought, which is for the Falcons, it's like the defense has been, pretty good, better than we thought, but the offense is, way worse than they should be. So going into this game, I think it is a favorable matchup for Atlanta, considering Atlanta's coming off, I guess you could call it a big win. I think it's big in the terms of that they needed it big time for their confidence and to keep the fan base engaged, but what do you guys think about this game? Do you think it is winnable? Do you think this is the start of a little mini streak here for the Falcons? Or do you think that Washington is a more daunting opponent maybe than the stats make it seem?
I definitely think Washington's better than what we've seen on paper. That defense unit, like Eric said, so talented. There's first rounders all up and down that defense. I'm not sure if the entire defensive line is made up of first rounders. I know Chase Young was the number 2 overall pick. Allen and Payne were both first rounders.
Sweat was a second rounder.
Yeah, he was a second rounder, but he should have been.
He should have been a first rounder, right?
But and that defense, in fairness, they did just get plastered by the Bills, who have, in my opinion, the second best offense in the NFL, right behind the Chiefs.
They're very good. They're very good.
And that that's just one of those days where Josh Allen was on his game, and the Bills were incredibly confident. And when it started raining, it started pouring. But at the same time, the Atlanta defense did a lot better containing the Giants than the Washington defense did. However, that being said, I'm picking the Falcons. I have full belief. We won in New York. I have full faith right now in the Falcons, and that's never come back to bite me.
Not once. Yeah, not once.
Not once in my life. And I am not thinking with my head right now. I'm completely picking with my heart because I just want to will a 500 record into existence, and
it'll be the first time they've been 500 since 2017, I think. So.
Jesus Christ! God damn.
No. In 2018, they were 4-4.
Oh, that's right.
Washington.
That's right. Excuse me. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
They were 4-4 after beating Washington heading into a bye week, which would be the same scenario here. And in 2019, they were 1-1 after beating the Eagles at home.
We still had hope. Yes.
Yeah, but I like I said, this is just me talking completely with my heart right now. Taylor Heineke's my guy.
He's played as well as you could expect. Honestly.
I am rooting for Taylor Heineke. He went to Collins Hill. That's about like 20 minutes from where I am. He's a GCO product. I root for everyone that went to Gwinnett. And he's someone, just his career arc. He's someone that was almost out of the NFL, and I think was he in the XFL for a little bit?
Yeah,
I think he was in the CFL.
Yeah, the CFL, and he was like a backup in the CFL too. And then he comes into Washington, almost beats the Bucs.
Yes, he almost beat the Bucs. He was so close. Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, I think the Falcons defense, contains Heineke and company. I think it's huge for AJ Terrell to come back healthy in this game because Terry McLaurin's a dog.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody.
He is out there just eating right now.
They could possibly be getting Curtis Samuel back this week off IR.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. However, I'm still picking the Falcons. This is me talking with my heart. 2-2, and then we're going to be above 500 for the first time since 2017 after we beat the Jets in London. We're going into the bye week 3-2, and we're going to feel so good about ourselves. And
just in time, just in time.
I just need it to happen.
Yeah, if we could just be happy through the bye week, that would be a nice change from the last couple of years.
It's been 3 long years, and last year we were talking draft in October, and I hated it.
Yeah,
and I need this
in October.
Eric was talking draft.
Has it been 3 years
since we've been above 500? Yes.
Yeah, in 2017 was the last time we were above 500. The closest we were in 2018 after we beat Washington up in Washington.
Yeah.
38-17. That was the best game that team played that entire season. That was when Julio Jones scored his first touchdown in Week 9, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he scored a touchdown!"
Oh, it's happening! Yeah,
and he finished with 8 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
So the Falcons they came out of the bye week. Excuse me, I made a mistake. They beat the Giants on Monday Night Football, went into the bye week, and came out of the bye beating Washington. Then the next week they went up to Cleveland in a game where everyone's like, "Oh, it's just the Browns." This is back when the Browns were still bad. And, everyone's like, all right, this will be a given. We're going to win this one easily, and we're going on our streak. The Falcons had won 3 games in a row after starting out 1-4, and then they got absolutely abused physically by the Browns.
Chubb had like a 94-yard touchdown run.
And then they like went on like a 5-6 game losing streak after that. But yeah, the last time the Falcons were above 500 was in 2017.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah, I mean, Keenan, how do you feel going into this one? You know, we talked a lot about the young offensive line. That's probably the toughest matchup in this one. So how are you feeling going into this game?
Honestly, man, I don't know. We're going to see, bro. We're going to see.
That's a good answer.
That's about 90% of the Falcons fan base. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
We'll just see it when the game comes, man. I don't know.
I believe the best. You know what I'm saying? I'm a pick with my heart, like my man Adnan. But I don't know, bro. We're gonna see.
It's hard. It's hard to do that because you don't know what Falcons you're gonna get, man.
And this is the Falcons' last decade. Like you just never know what's gonna happen.
Because it seems like every little bit when it's like, all right, you know what? I'm going with them, man. I'm going with them. And then they just get blasted 30-8. And then it's like, well, wow.
Just out of nowhere. Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. You guys know how I feel about this Washington. I actually picked Washington to win the NFC East coming into the season because I felt that strong about that defense, especially the front seven. I felt that strong about Ryan.
Are they still your pick for the NFC East?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. Yeah, I'm sticking to it because I think this defense, what we're seeing so far is it's a fallacy. Like this is not who they are, and I think they're going to turn it on. And I think this might be the week that they turn it on. That defense to me is definitely playoff worthy. I think Taylor Heineke is bolstering that starting job every week. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick has to be sitting on IR thinking like this is some bullshit. Because there's very little chance as the games go by that he's going to get that starting job back.
Man, Ryan Fitzpatrick should be the last person who should be hating on that because how many starting jobs has he taken from injuries in his career?
It's like the ultimate reversal.
It used to be a meme. That Ryan Fitzpatrick, whichever team he's on, the QB will get hurt and he will step in, have his Fitz magic for a few games.
He didn't even last a quarter. He didn't even go a quarter into the season, and he was hurt. It's just it's funny how like I said, football writes his own script, man. But one thing I want people to keep an eye on. The Washington, I want to say the Redskins. I still want to say that.
It's hard. It's taken, and then it's going to change again next year, probably. So
they're 27th in the NFL in opponent first half points allowed. I think they give up close to 17 points per game in the first half. They're slightly better in the second half. The reason why I point that out is because, of course, the Falcons have been notorious on offense for slow starts.
Yep.
So keep an eye on that. If this is a game where the offense is clicking early and Washington is giving up 17, maybe 21 points in the first half, we might see a game here. We might see the Falcons pull this one out. But that's one stat that stood out to me that I would definitely monitor going into this game. But I think Washington is going to squeeze this one and get their season jump started a little bit.
And I will just say this, Matt Ryan, and not that it really matters going into this game, just a piece of like historical information. Matt Ryan's never lost to Washington. He's 5-0 in his career.
Knock on wood.
What's there to knock on wood about? He's never lost to Washington. Like me knocking on wood isn't going to change history. The Falcons have the Falcons have beaten Washington 6 straight times, going back to 2006. Before that, Washington owned this season series. Like the Falcons were 4-15-1 against Washington all time until 2006. Like the Redskins were destroying this team in the 90s. They were embarrassing this team in the 90s. In 91, they knocked them out of the divisional round of the playoffs after beating them like 56-20 in the regular season. But that's back when they had the Hogs and they were like the best team in the NFL. But yeah, just historical information.
You said until 06?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Keenan, you guys had something to do with that, right?
Yeah, you guys beat Washington in 06, and that's
You
what started this
You
little
slammed
run.
that door, right? You slammed 4-15 my ass.
Yeah, he did play him that year.
You slammed
Wow.
that door. Okay.
Hey, and real quick, y'all, Fitzmagic don't give a damn. That check's still clearing.
He getting. I get it. He's getting paid. But for once, he probably felt like, yo, this is at least for the first time in a while, he's felt like this is a team that I can steer the right way. And he saw that they were a playoff team the year before. And again, it's just funny how, like Anna said, it's funny how it plays itself out. Like he's always the quarterback that's like replacing the injured quarterback, and now the tables were turned, ironically. So
yeah.
And I mean, when he quits football, he has like what, an econ degree from Harvard.
I think he's gonna be all right. Yeah, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah, the last time before that 2018 matchup, the last time the Falcons played Washington, it was the Robert Alford pick six
2015,
game.
yep.
2015. Yep, the team went to 5-0, and we're like, oh, sky's the limit for this.
Kirk Cousins, and man, did that sky fell.
Oh yeah, fell immediately after that game.
8-game losing streak. Sheesh.
It was 6 out of 7. We beat the Jags in there.
Yep. All right.
And this will be the second time Heineke has started against the Falcons, because remember he played for Carolina.
Was it last year? Or the year before last? 2019?
Heineke?
Yeah.
No, that was 2018 with the Panthers.
Okay. Wow.
Because that's when Ron Rivera was still there.
I think he threw like three interceptions.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, you know who got their first career pick? Jack Crawford.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Jack Crawford.
That's why I'll never forget that.
2018. Actually, I was at that game. 2018. Yeah.
It was in
Carolina.
December, November. It was one of those colder.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Come to the Falcoholic for the analysis and stay for the trivia.
The random trivia also, yes. Very important.
Hey, and real quick, another shout out for Taylor Heineke, Collins Hill, Gwinnett County product.
JUCO.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, glad to get those guys. I mean, I'm happy for him. I wish he would have beaten the Bucks last year, but
that would have been such.
He did his best.
What a story!
He did his best, man. He certainly did.
Yeah, he had that rushing touchdown where Chase Young comes and is like pointing to the jersey, and that was just like.
Oh, they show that GIF all the time, or on Twitter. People post it.
Yep. All right, so
definitely someone I'm rooting for.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get out of here,
not this week though.
Not this week. We're gonna delay the rooting for 1 week, and then we'll we'll come back to it after that. But it's just temporarily suspended, we'll say. But all right, Keenan, we did have a question for you from Jason Gaines, who's one of our resident Falcons historians. But he was an ardent follower of the team back in 2005 and 2006. Got super excited when the team got off to those 5-2 starts both years. Ended up missing the playoffs. He didn't know if you had any insight or any, of your personal thoughts on maybe why that happened, because he thought the team was really good those years. So don't know if you have any memories worth sharing from those 2005 and 2006 seasons.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries hit us bad. Like, we lost a lot of guys. I think I want to say that last year, 2006, I got injured. Patrick Kearney got injured. Ed Hartwell, I think, who was a big free agent signing, he got hurt. We had a lot of injuries, man, those 2 years. And,
it gets hard to overcome.
You got to stay healthy. Best ability is availability.
So true. Yeah, and it's the great equalizer in the NFL, injuries. You can have the best roster on paper, get out there 5 weeks. I mean, look at the Colts, decimated this year. I think they have like 8 guys not participating in practice this week to start off the week. I mean,
and their
crazy.
first rounder goes to the Eagles this year, unless Carson Wentz plays less than 75% of his snaps this year.
Yep, and they
Fix
keep
is
playing.
gonna be on that one. Watch.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. If they're like 0-5, 0-6, it's he'll have a back injury or it'll be the hip or something. They'll shut him down.
Actually, those ankles.
He hurt both ankles this past week. Right?
Yeah, I can't believe they put him out there, man. I can't believe they put him out there. That man could not move.
Sprained both ankles.
Yeah.
How you sprain both ankles?
I don't know, man.
I don't know if it was like at the same time or if it was like one happened.
He was already nursing a sprained ankle going into that game, and then the one when he was getting rolled up on by Aaron Donald, he ended up spraining the other ankle.
Yeah.
So he already had a bad ankle going into that game.
Carson Wentz, and Evan will know this one, or he'll understand the reference, but it's like that SpongeBob episode when they were selling the chocolate bars. And then, it was that guy who was like scamming them and pretending to be hurt. And he's like, oh, every morning I break both arms. Every night I break both legs. And it's like, oh, this is Carson Wentz.
But that also wasn't the only injury. I think he had it was a wrist injury or a shoulder, one of the two, or something like that. I mean, he was already beat up going into that.
And he was coming into the season like having that back surgery too.
Well, yeah, and he came back from that, and the diagnosis was 5 to 12 weeks, and he came back in 5.
Yeah,
he came back in 5 weeks.
He did. He came back quick. It's like a lot of people think injury prone. I know someone wrote about this too. A lot of people think injury prone players, and that's kind of just a misnomer anyway. But like players that tend to get hurt more, that they're like weak or something. But no, a lot of times those players are like the toughest guys on the team. They keep trying to come back, from all this stuff. And it's just like sometimes they maybe need to be told like, actually, you shouldn't come back yet. Like you should wait. You should let yourself heal. Those guys are warriors, and it's it's just tough out there, man. And I think it's unfair maybe to call those guys like weak or that sort of thing.
What's one significant injury you played through that you probably shouldn't have?
Turf toe injuries. My first couple years.
Yeah.
Like I had it real bad. I could hardly walk on them.
Damn.
And that lingered for the entire season?
Whole season, yeah. It didn't get better until about February or so.
Jeez.
Oh God.
Yeah. Like
what's funny about that injury is like there's a lot of people who've never played football and never had a turf toe that think, oh, he just like hurt his toe.
It sounds so innocuous, but it's terrible.
Right.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like, I mean, this isn't my actual foot here, but if you can kind of think about it a little bit, like, so like, underneath your toe and your foot or whatever, that whole thing was purple and it was swollen and on top. And, with your feet, you got to be able to push off and plant and drive and do all that other type of stuff.
Man,
so they were like mummy wrapping this thing. I'm having to wear a bigger shoe just to get this thing on, man.
Wow.
It was
that's crazy. Yeah.
I feel like we could go for like 2 hours talking just about the culture of the NFL of, having to fight through those injuries and, not looking weak. And, even when it is sometimes detrimental to a player's own health and to his team subsequently because he's out there at not even close to 100%.
Julio.
Mm-hmm. Like I always like what was that? They had a replay of a game this past summer. The game where we played against Minnesota where Mike, had that walk off 50 yard touchdown in overtime. Yeah. And I remember watching that game. And I was looking at myself, I was like, man, all I could think about was like, man, my foot was hurting. I don't know how I was able to move and play, but
the adrenaline, I guess. Yeah.
One of the better, more modern examples of that is probably when Stafford was with the Lions, he like dislocated his shoulder and stayed in a play, and I think it was a touchdown or a 2-point conversion or something.
They told him to pop it back in.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy, he's a tough ass.
Stafford's a tough dude. He's a tough ass dude. Like he's played through some shit in Detroit, and I think that game was just like meaningless too. It wasn't even like I think they were knocked out of playoff contention and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it was good for him because it showed. I think he had like some injuries before that, you know, and so for him, I think that was just one of the things where he was just like, "Nah, I'm not fixing to keep going out like this," you know.
I think he had like he missed a whole season. Like it may have been his second season, and he was battling some like lingering injuries. Had a big one, and I remember he did get that narrative of being an injury prone player, and for some reason it's really like clear in my mind. I remember having the Madden video game that year, and Stafford's injury was like a 45 out of 100, where he'd like get hurt all the time whenever like he got hit.
And I think NFL Films had mic'd him for that game, and the staff wanted him out, but he threw the touchdown, and he was like, I'm like my shoulder, like I can't, like they popped it back in place, and they wanted him out. They wanted to keep him out. He's like, I'm going back in, and he went back in for the 2-point conversion and got it.
Yep.
And it's just Yeah, man.
It's a
God bless him. Hey, y'all, I've had my shoulder dislocated a few times, and like it was dislocated to the point where they couldn't, slide it back in on the sideline. They had to take me in and give me IV and kind of get me a little woozy, and then they was able to slip it back in there.
Jeez.
It's
That's so
shoulder
brutal,
popping
man.
out
I've
there.
seen that.
And I
on
came
the
back and
sideline.
played the next week.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
tough.
like
Jesus.
that's another one of them injuries where I was like, yeah, I shouldn't be out here. Still
It's one of the old sayings.
You can, have that ball come out of that socket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it happened to my brother, so I've seen it. I've seen it happen on the sideline. Oof. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm good on that. Yeah.
It feels weird too because you can't like feel your fingers. You're just like, what the hell?
Damn, man. That's some insider knowledge right there. That's some real stuff. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
It's as they say. I was gonna say, every player is hurt. Like, every player in the NFL is hurt when it comes to like when you get to late enough in the season. Maybe not everyone's injured, but everyone's hurt. Everyone's fighting like something where it hurts.
Oh yeah.
Got something.
I'm definitely having a shoulder day this weekend, man. Gotta take care of my shoulders, man.
Didn't Alex Mack in the Super Bowl play on like a broken leg or something?
Broken foot.
Yeah, like what the hell, man?
No, it was a broken leg. A broken leg, even worse.
Tibia.
Remember when T.O. came back after fracturing his leg? Came back into the Super Bowl. I mean, that thing was not healed. That thing was held together by screws.
Held together by hope.
And he was doing him out there too on that broken leg.
9 catches, 181 yards.
Yep.
On a broken
Sometimes,
leg. That's crazy, man.
That's just the thing, man. Sometimes you just mind over body briefly. It can't last long, but like sometimes you can make it work. And there's some great players that have made it work. All right, we got one last donation from George Costanza with the $10. Thank you, George, man. We appreciate you. Commenting on the Justin Fields situation. Man, did that look awful on Sunday. I know Matt Nagy straight cuttered him. So there's no way to fairly evaluate his performance on Sunday. Never seen a more pathetic coaching job, including 28-3.
I'm not going that far, bro.
Yeah, we're not going to touch that one, but yeah, man, he's like, and I know George is saying like he was the biggest supporter of Pitts over Fields, but like, yeah, he can't even take a victory lap on that. It was that bad by Matt Nagy. I totally agree, man. They left Fields out to dry. I don't know who came up with that game plan. It was terrible. I don't know how you can use that.
They did. Yeah, they did. It was some bullshit. Like, you're going to have him out there. What, he got sacked about, what?
Nine times.
Like, come on. You're going to do that to your young player who you're trying to get to build some confidence in him on a week-to-week basis, and you're going to do him like that?
You're going to trot him out there against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney.
They didn't even try.
Not only are you going to do that, but you're going to do that with a starting left tackle that's 39, 40. Jason Peters.
Yeah.
Going against Myles Garrett too, man. Who's in his prime.
Yep.
Hey, real quick, did anybody see that on Instagram? That little play where Myles Garrett was lined up in the 4 and it's like a blur how fast he got inside of the guard.
Pierce wasn't able to get out of stance.
No, that was Myles Garrett's something else, man.
And you are putting your young franchise quarterback. If I was Ryan Pace, I might have put a stop to that. Honestly, I might have put a stop to that. What the hell are you doing?
Somebody, I'm telling you, there might have been an altercation after that. Some coach or upstairs guy, it might have been an altercation after that.
I'm pretty sure it was.
They still have, what is it, Nick Foles on the roster,
right?
They
still have Foles.
So it's like, that's the thing I don't get. I understood at the beginning of the season. I'm one of the few that's like, start Andy Dalton because I don't want to see him thrown out against the Rams, and I don't want to see
him out there against Aaron Donald.
Right. So like, let him learn. But in a situation like this, once it starts going south quickly, like I would have threw Foles in there and just been like, hey, we're trying not to get you hurt here.
Well, it's obvious he's trying to establish some type of offensive continuity because, to be honest with you, this is a hot seat year and his job is over.
Yeah.
So he can't necessarily keep playing musical chairs with his quarterbacks. However, if you really value Justin Fields the way you do, given the opponents you have on your schedule, like you have to be mindful of that. Like I know fans want to see him, but he didn't look that great against Cincinnati. So why would we start him and trot him back out there against Cleveland?
You can't let the fan base make your decisions. And I know there was a lot of fans clamoring for Justin Fields to start.
I get it.
Like I understand, like they want that excitement. Fields was the first round pick. They traded up for him. But you have to realize that sometimes it's more valuable, to not play him. And, we talked about just the mental game with Jalen Mayfield for a long time, to start this episode. It's the same thing with Justin Fields. Like if this keeps happening, any rookie quarterback, like this could mentally shatter him if you just throw him out there and he keeps getting hit over and over again. He's going to be hearing those footsteps.
Ask David Carr.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
Ask Josh Rosen. He's on the team.
Ask Joey Harrington.
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt to me like a petty thing by Nagy, where he was like, "Oh, you guys are going to question whether I'm starting Andy Dalton or not. Here, I'm going to throw Justin Fields out there to get annihilated in this game, so I can show you how right I was not to play him."
It's nothing against Fields. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But to be quite honest with you, Fields hasn't shown me anything in the preseason that says, "All right, you know what? We might be able to start this kid and win a game or two." He didn't show me anything there. And then again, he went out there in relief of Dalton against Cincinnati. Didn't look great. Threw a interception late in the second half. And then you're going to say, all right, we got a better defense in Cleveland this week on the road. Send the rookie back out there again. Really?
Well, yeah, I don't know why. If you're so like if you're saying he's not ready to play, then why aren't you putting Nick Foles out there? Like, I just don't get it. Like, either he's ready to play or he's not. So like,
he's coaching like he's writing his own tombstone.
Yeah, no, Matt Nagy's not surviving the season. I mean, maybe he could because it's the Bears, but
he might be pulling a Bill O'Brien. I'm just gonna sink the whole ship. Next thing
why not? Yeah,
Khalil Mack to us for a 7th rounder.
Hey, let's do it. Hell yeah!
Hey, I'm telling you.
If I'm going down, I'm taking everything down with me. I ain't going down by myself.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sinking this life raft. If I'm going to drown, so are you.
Exactly, man. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, because that was the type of move he pulled by sticking that young boy out there that's going to play. Because, a lot of times for a young player, sometimes it's good for you to just stand on the sideline and watch. You know what I mean?
Even if
of course, the quarterbacks, they're standing over there. They got the clipboard and they're writing the notes. I'm not writing the notes, but writing the plays down, and they're listening. So it gives him a chance to get the play, say it out loud, kind of rehearsing it with himself, and watch the game from the side, and just mentally go through all your checks and everything.
Even if he just had to start him, at least pull him after 4 or 5 sacks. Like, he's taking a beating, man. Yeah, at least pull him. You didn't even pull him.
And I know Mark Sanchez made the point on Fox Sports a couple days ago. It was actually Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco who completely changed the game for rookie quarterbacks. Because, pre-2008, it's completely common. You take your rookie quarterback, he's going to sit for the first year, maybe even the first couple of years. Saw it with Aaron Rodgers, for example. And, that's just completely common. Then Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco come in, rookie of the year, playoffs first year. And then after that, it's like, all right, we have to start playing these rookie quarterbacks immediately. Sam Bradford, 2009, I think he came out, or 2010. Matthew Stafford in 2009.
That's another guy. That was another guy who took a hell of a beating as a rookie.
Yeah, and then, after that, it's like, all right, now we have to play our rookie quarterbacks no matter what. And now we see it with collective fan bases and their mentalities of, all right, throw the rookie out there, no matter what the situation is. Well, the rookie, we're expecting him to win these games and to make the playoffs, and that's not the way it works, a lot of the time. And I hope it helps some people realize just how special Matt Ryan was in 2008 to do what he did, because that's something that we had really not seen in the NFL before that.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael Turner took a lot of pressure
Michael Turner
too by toting that thing.
Oh yeah.
Michael Turner helped shape Matt Ryan into what he is, because Matt Ryan had the luxury of handing it off to that beast in the backfield for the first 3 years.
He had a career high in carries that year, right? I think it was 2008.
Yeah, he led the league in carries that year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. it'll be interesting to see, because the next transition is coming for the Falcons. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but I would say within the next 3 years, we're going to have a young quarterback in here. And,
it's coming.
We'll see what happens. I hope they do it as well as they did in 2008. I hope
if something like that was to happen, here's what I like about it. It wouldn't be the same situation that the Bears had where you got a coach on the hot seat who's, panicking, trying to get a spark or something going, and he throws a young kid out there and possibly ruins him. Hopefully it doesn't, but we got at least Arthur Smith here, who's going to be here for the next 3-4 years, right?
I think it was a
probably
5-year
2 to
contract
3
that he got.
I mean, I would say, less than 2 would
yeah.
be surprising. You would have to
So
really.
if he was able to get a young quarterback, he'd have a chance to, kind of bring him along and not worry about the outside noise if things ain't going right on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Nagy has to coach for 2 futures, his and Justin Fields. You got to think.
That's rough.
Think of it that way.
That's rough. Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get things wrapped up here, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like I said earlier in the show, our next Falcons Q&A for the patrons will be Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So patrons, make sure you're either there or you can send us your questions that you'd like answered on Patreon through Patreon message or by commenting on one of those posts. If you're interested in signing up for that, still plenty of time. Just do it any time before Friday at 6 p.m. to get access to the live stream there. The link to that is patreon.com/Falcoholic Live. Thank you to all 26 of you now that are supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate everyone who tips and donates, and just appreciates, honestly, everyone who hangs out and chats with us every single week. I know there's a lot of you guys. We really appreciate everyone for taking part. Even UK Green, even though you criticized us last week. But, we love you all. And also shout out to Reginald Oliver. I know you watch the shows. You should take your victory lap, man, because you were always caping for Isaiah, and you've been proven right, man, because Isaiah Oliver is the #1 great Falcons defensive player at this point per PFF.
Shout out to my guy Reginald, man.
Take your victory lap, man. You deserve it.
100%, man.
Yeah, you deserve it. So, but yeah, man, for sure. Thank you for watching also. And like and subscribe, guys, if you haven't done that already. Those metrics both help us out. Until Sunday's post game, want to thank, first of all, our special guest. He is Keenan Forney, at KForney65 on Twitter, at F65 Performance on Instagram. Keenan, anything else you're working on you'd like to let the people know about?
Oh man, I'm a pillar in the community. I'm out here, donating my time, trying to enrich and enlighten the youth of America, and I stay in the gym with young men that are trying to take their talent to the next level and beyond, man. So I'm blessed, and it's good to see y'all. Good to be back cheering the Falcons on. I'm glad we got us a dub this past week. When the game was over with, I found myself out bumping that new Jocelyn Hernandez. Do it like it's your B-day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still enjoying the win right now.
Oh yeah, man, it's the win. I don't care who it came against.
Keenan, way more where that came from. This team isn't losing for a number of weeks. We're about to have a really good run coming up.
Yeah. I like that. Positivity. We need it. We need it in here. We need something fierce.
Positive vibes.
Yep. Good vibes. Good vibes for this team going forward. Thanks again, Keenan, for coming on. And yeah, we're not gonna go that long without having you on again. That's a promise. We need to get you back on here because it's always a blast when you come on. We appreciate you giving us your time. All right, everyone else. First of all, Eric Robinson at _Eric_Robinson on the Twitters. Eric, anything you're working on you'd like to let the people know about?
Just had my column pushed out for 5 things that we learned from this past week, this win over the Giants, and be on the lookout for later on this week the preview for the Washington football team.
Yep, check that out for sure, guys. Also with us tonight, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on the Twitters. Adnan, anything you're working on you'd like to plug?
Yes, Saturday, check out series history article and what if the Falcons win or lose article. And, I just want to give a shout out to the other Atlanta teams that have been, bringing us some joy. The Atlanta United look like they're about to make the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years. The Braves are on the cusp of winning the division. The Hawks are about to start up. I can't wait for that. So, Falcons, do your part, win, continue winning. So yeah, shout out to the other Atlanta sports teams.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, for sure. Get those dubs everywhere. All dubs, all the time. Also with us tonight, we have Director of Guest Personnel. He is Evan Birchfield at the very easy to remember at Evan Birchfield. Evan, anything you're working on you'd like to plug?
No, just go to thefalcoholic.com. Follow the Instagram, _Falcoholic. Yeah, and I'm on Twitter at Evan Birchfield, and that's about it.
Yeah, guys, check out the Instagram for sure. Evan does a great job with that. So if you're into that sort of thing, I guess I'm too much of an old to do Instagram, but which is weird because I think Evan's actually older than me, even though Evan looks like the baby
How
of the
old are you?
Falcoholic. 28.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's
31,
weird.
so I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, I don't-
Evan just looks like he's like 20 at all times, so it's funny. But
I just assumed that Evan was the second youngest person at the.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's wild.
We learned
but,
something today.
We did. So yeah, well, it's the beard, that makes me look older. And Evan isn't rocking the beard, but Arthur Smith is rocking the beard. So we'll see if the beard luck continues.
What 1-0 with the beard?
Yeah, 1-0 with the beard. So he might need to.
I don't think he's allowed to shave if the team wins again.
Yeah, no, he's gonna.
No,
he might
already
need
said
to.
he's not.
Yeah, he might need to get some style going with that. It looks a little, it's a little
Yeah,
wild
it looks
right
a little
now.
rough.
It's a little wild. You can tell this man's not used to having a beard, but it's okay.
Right.
Arthur, give us a call. We'll give you some pointers. It's all good. It's all good. It's all love here. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next time on Sunday for everyone. For the post-game show and for patrons, we will see you on Friday at 6 for our next Q&A session that will be posted here on YouTube as well, guys, after we're done recording as well. So everybody's going to get a chance to listen to those shows. Those are a lot of fun. So until next time, guys, for all of us, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time on the Falcoholic Live. Have a great night, folks.